Good evening, everyone. Today I'll be telling you about our project that is fraud detection using machine learning and deep learning. So first of all, I'll be telling you about what our project is and few information about our project. So as we all know that in today's world, fraud occurs everywhere on daily basis in companies and organizations, and there is a big loss. That can be in billions as well. So we tried to invent a way where we can find fraud cases, or you can say the fraudulent cases between from the non-fraud ones. So detecting fraud cases is of great importance to any company, and due to the theoretical increase of frauds, which result in the loss of dollars, rupees worldwide each year, several modern techniques in detecting fraud are persistently evolved and applied to many business fields. So now let's move to our project and I'll show you how does it work. So we have uploaded as you can see here. Firstly, we have uploaded our project and we have imported few basic libraries as you can see here, that are pandas, matplotlib, seaborn and few others. Then what we do is the first approach to our project is of data pre-processing. That is, how do we define our data, how do we describe our data, how do we tell that our data is correct, and all. So firstly we'll do data pre-processing. For that, first of all, we uploaded our dataset, that is here referred to as creditcard.csv, and has few features and information through which we'll be dealing in our project. So for data pre-processing, as you can see here, we have shaped our data set and told you about and tried to represent the features, or you can say the columns, in our data set. Then I'll be showing you with this feature our first five information presented in our data set. So here, as you can see, that these are the features and the information presented in our data set with number of things. Now we'll take information, and as you can see here, there are no null cases, and you can see the data type with the not null cases. Now we have described our data set, as you can see here. Now for finding fraud and non-fraud cases, here the first case, as you can see here, is fraud cases, and the second one are the non-fraud. As you can see here, the class 1 referred to as fraud and other valid are referred to as 0, which will be very useful to us further down. Now these are when we try to find out the outliers, or you can say the fraud cases here, we were able to get a result of 492 fraud cases, and there were a total and the valid transactions among them were 284,315. Out of total, you can say that out of total 284,807 transactions, 492 were fraud and the rest were non-fraud. Now what we'll do is what we'll check how much we'll try to display the fraud and non-fraud cases through few diagrams, and as we can see here in this diagram, where number of transactions and class are taken, in comparison, we can say that the non-fraud cases are very much big, or very much to fraud cases. So that will be our major problem that we'll have to deal with, how to balance our data set. Now you can see here, similarly we have done a C1 graph. We have done C1 graph showing you the fraud and non-fraud cases, the valid and the non-valid cases. Then we have described class 0 and class 1, that is non-valid, valid and non-valid or fraudulent cases. And as we are able to see that only 492 or 0.17 or 0.17% of transactions are fraud, our data is highly imbalanced. Now I have tried to show the different now I've tried to focus on the fraudulent and non-fraudulent cases and show how they appear to us. Now what we'll do is we'll make a time density plot here, obviously comparing time and density for showing the transactions. Now as we can see here, the R feature amount and class are, when we take for fraud and non-fraud cases, are not at all comparable. Valid cases or the non-fraud cases are very much as compared to the fraud cases referred here, that is fraud cases are 1 and non-fraud or valid cases are 0. So amount needs to be scaled down as it is very much as compared to non-fraud cases. Now similarly we have done a box plot here to show the same. Then we have imported few further libraries which will help us in understanding more. Now we have to first of all see if there is any similarity in the transaction or not, so that we could deal with it. Now by doing some code, we were able to see here that there were a number of similarities between these IDs, these transaction IDs, as you can see here. Now now the main thing in any data set is how the features or how the columns or how you can say how these are related with each other. Now we did a correlation, we plotted a correlation graph and we were able to see that how these features are related to each other. Similarly, we did heat frequency map showing how these features are correlated to each others, and we were able to see that these features were related to time, like inverse correlation with V3, and with amount there were direct correlation with V7 and V20. Now for feature density plot with each now feature density plot is plotted here. We have plotted feature density with each and every features or columns, you can say, here. Now as we are able to see that these are the V18, V19, these PCA components are shown here that are not obviously told us, because not any organization or company would share their private information with us. And now the result shows that there was a good selectivity in terms of distribution between two classes, and like V4 and V11, and how they were not distinct and how the features were distinct with each others, etc. Now similarly we scaled the amount feature here, as we know that amount was not at all comparable with time between non-fraud and fraud cases, right? So what we'll do here next is, now we'll find out predictors and target values for these are basically for telling or for dividing our data or for doing cross validation between train and test split. So these are done here, as you can see here. Now we'll split the data into train and test set, that is I told you similarly cross validation, and by doing so we get the result as shown on the screen. For train is this much and for test is this much. Now we build a model. Now we are trying to build a model, and through which we can see the result. This model is basically a confusion matrix which will tell us about how, if the cases were fraud and were detected fraud correctly, or if they were not fraud and detected fraud. These few features will be showing through confusion matrix, and you'll be able to understand it better further down. So now what we do is linear regression. As you can see here, linear regression is done here, and we can see the accuracy of the model, that is 0.71%. Similarly, then we are doing logistic regression, decision tree, and random forest, as you can see here, with each and every accuracy and precision told here. Now we'll also show you SVM model here, and by plotting all these models we were able to see that the result were not meaningful and not understandable, as non-fraud cases were greater than fraud cases. So what we do is we apply a few techniques like undersampling. We did undersampling, so we in undersampling we randomly selected the same amount of non-fraud as the fraud and created a new data set. Or you can say that undersampling is a technique of removing major class records from the sample. Now for this we are simply taking amount and time. As you can see here, we are doing train and test split and undersampling, and then similarly we are doing a linear regression, logistic regression, decision tree model, as you can see here, and random forest. And with each of them you can see that our accuracy increases every time. Like as compared to this decision tree, our accuracy is improved. There is a better accuracy, as you can see here, that is 91% as compared to decision tree, that is 88%. And also we did SVM model here, for this SVM model, and then also we performed neural networks for undersampling cases, for which the result is shown here, as you can see. We also built a model accuracy graph, as you can see, and a confusion matrix for the same. Now here we can say that the results were meaningful as compared to the imbalanced data set or the imbalanced confusion matrix we did earlier. Now similarly we do the undersampling. Undersampling is a technique of removing minority class records from the sample. It is to deal with the minority class, and undersampling was to deal with the majority class. For the same we are doing train and test split using adaptive synthetic method, and it is a oversampling technique for adaptively generating minority data samples according to distribution using KNN. Now we are doing linear regression here, and as you can see the accuracy and precision of it will be better in logistic regression, that is 88%. That was better than linear regression, which was 71%. Now we'll be doing decision tree model, which has an accuracy of 0.99%, as you can see here, which is almost equal to 1, or you can say that almost equal to finding non-fraud and fraud cases. And in random forest we can say that our data set or our project here is able to find the fraud cases among non-fraud ones, right? So I also you can see the result here. And recall we are getting a 1, which is the highest probability here, and we can also say that zero transactions in the given confusion matrix, zero transactions were classified as normal but which were fraud. So accordingly, in oversampling, what we did is we were able to find out our fraud cases among the non-fraud ones. Then we also plotted a neural network model for our oversampling data, as you can see here, similarly building a model accuracy with it and a confusion matrix. Also with model accuracy comes a model loss. We also developed a model loss and we are able to get it. So from the output, or by concluding it, we can say that we were able to detect fraud cases amongst the non-fraud cases by doing few by applying machine learning and deep learning algorithms here, as you have as you have seen above in the video. And this project will be helpful to many organizations and business companies, which would, if further used, will help in finding fraud cases immediately, and will help in finding loss or preventing loss for the company or the organization. So this was our project. Thank you.